It is Oxford Biology interview season, so I thought to make this video sharing some of the tips, advice, resources and perspectives that I found helpful when it came to preparing for and doing your best in interviews for Oxford Undergraduate Biology. And before we get started, I just wanted to say, if you're new to this channel, welcome to the family. My name is Deep and I'm a second year undergraduate studying biology at Pembroke College at the University of Oxford. And my mission with this academic empowerment project is to inspire, empower, support, cheerlead and celebrate you on your journey of showing up for yourself and turning your dreams and goals into reality. So if that sounds good to you, please feel free to follow along and subscribe. So firstly, I just wanted to say, yay, well done for getting to interview. I am so proud of you and you should be so proud of yourself too. This is such a big achievement in itself, and well, hopefully with this video and some of the resources I share, you'll be able to do well in interview, and I am just wishing you all the very, very best for the rest of your application journey. And without further ado, let's get started with the advice. So my first piece of advice is to practice talking your ideas and thought processes out loud and taking it step by step so that you can become more comfortable with doing so in an interview. One of the things that helped me practice talking my ideas and thought processes out loud was talking about some of the things I explored in my personal statement to my friends in school during form time. Another thing that really helped me was watching the mock interviews that are available online for Oxford Biology and then pausing them every now and then to try and give my best answer. And I've linked the mock interviews for Oxford Biology in the description box alongside some other incredible resources that I found very helpful, and these include some sample Oxford Biology interview questions and general interview advice from the Oxford website. And I've also provided links to the incredible videos made by Dr. Matt Williams from the Jesus College Oxford YouTube channel, so please go check out those incredible resources in the description box. My second piece of advice is to have fun with it. In the interviews, you'll be given several problems or mysteries in biology and you get to work through them with a couple of experts in the field. So embrace this as a fun and cool learning opportunity. The tutors are looking for someone who is genuinely enthusiastic about biology, so let your excitement shine through. And one of the things that helped me let my excitement shine through was to be my authentic self and let myself get excited and not try and pretend to be someone who I wasn't through either changing my voice or using words that I wouldn't normally use. So yes, have fun with it. My third piece of advice is to actually engage with the tutors. The people who the tutors will give offers to and who meet the grade requirements will be the people those tutors will be spending a lot of time teaching and supporting through small group discussion. So the tutors are looking for people who they will enjoy teaching. They are looking for people who are willing and excited to engage meaningfully with them and learn through this form of small group discussion. They are looking for people who are open-minded and receptive and are able to think critically. So make sure to, in the interview, to listen to what the tutors have to say, take a beat to process what they've said, and then bounce off of their ideas, suggestions, and hints. And don't be afraid to ask questions if you're not too sure. And don't be afraid to backtrack and say that you've changed your mind, as long as you make sure to explain why. And yeah, they just want to see your logical thought process and how you go about problem solving. And an example of talking your thought process out loud and explaining things step by step, for example, is by when you try to explain a graph. You don't start by just explaining all the patterns you see. First, you start off by reading the x-axis and saying what you can see is the variable on the x-axis. Then by reading the y-axis and saying what is the variable on the y-axis, and then after having that understanding, then looking at the patterns you can see within the data, and then trying to think of reasons why those patterns could be arising. My fourth piece of advice is to do the standard prep work and prepare for general questions, because a lot of the times the interviewers will begin with one or two general questions at the start of the interview to get you talking and settled in. For example, these could be, why do you want to study biology? Why do you want to study biology at Oxford specifically? And for example, what is something cool in biology that you learned about or read about recently that you found exciting or interesting? And one of the ways that you can prepare for this third question is through reading more books to do with biology, listening to podcasts like the Big Biology podcast, or you could also read some recent New Scientist or National Geographic articles to keep up with some biology news. I actually got a 3-month trial of the New Scientist app to help me with this. You could also potentially even read some articles in journals like Nature or Science. And also be prepared for questions on your personal statement. And when it came to going over my personal statement and preparing for any questions they could ask me for it, what I did was I used the advice from IBSMO. I went over my personal statement sentence by sentence, and for each sentence, I thought about and wrote down what questions they could ask me based off of those sentences from my personal statement. And then I wrote down and prepared some short answers to those questions and practiced talking them out loud and read them a few times as well. And in case it helps, on the screen now is a copy of my personal statement statement and the questions that I wrote down to prepare for the interviews, paragraph by paragraph. And one other thing that you can do to help you in an interview, in case they do ask you about questions about your personal statement, is you can print out your personal statement and have it to hand during the interview so that it would be easier for you to jog your memory in case they did ask you a question about your personal statement, which you are allowed to do and is on the Oxford website. My fifth piece of advice is to potentially read a little bit into what fields of biology your interviewers are experts in. And I found that doing this made the whole process a lot less daunting for me because it meant that I knew a little bit more about the tutors, which made them less scary. And you never know, potentially some of the questions that tutors could ask you could be related to their research. My sixth piece of advice is no matter how your first interview goes, approach the second interview with a fresh start. Process your emotions and let yourself feel your feelings and reflect on the lessons you learned from your first interview, but don't stress yourself out unnecessarily by obsessing over any mistakes you made, how you could have done better, or whether you finished the questions or not. I didn't finish both of the series of questions in both of my interviews and I thought I completely failed, but I enjoyed the process. I was open and receptive and engaged with the tutors, and I let my enthusiasm shine through, and in the end it worked out for me. And from my experience and the experience of my friends, you usually can't tell whether you did well in interviews, so please don't waste your time and energy stressing about that. Another thing that helped me and made the whole process a little less daunting was knowing more about how they decide who to give offers to after the interview stage. And this was something that I was told by one of the tutors on an open day that I attended in year 12. However, I have forgotten a little bit since then, so I may not be 100% correct, so please take this with a pinch of salt and don't hold me 100% to this. So, as I mentioned before, you'll be interviewed at 2 colleges. One of your interviews will be at your primary college, and this will either be the college you applied for or got reallocated to. The second interview will be at a different college, and the purpose of having the second interview is to give you another chance just in case your first interview didn't go so well, because we all can have bad days sometimes. And no matter which colleges you get interviewed at, you'll have an equal chance of being successful after the interview stage, no matter what college. And this is just to make the process more fair. And in each of your interviews, you'll have 2 to 3 interviewers. And after each interview that you have at each of your 2 different colleges, the interviewers from that college will review your application as a whole, not just your interview performance, and decide to give you a grade. And that grade could either look somewhere along the lines of, you did incredible and we would love to have you at our college and on the course. You did good but could have done better, and you didn't do so well in the interview. And they will also rank all of the people who interviewed at that college. And what the tutors from each college will want to do is they will want to give an offer to all the students who got the grade, you did incredible and we would love to have you at our college. However, the number of students who may get that grade, you did incredible and we'd love to have you at our college, may be more than the number of places they have available at that college. For example, 10 of the interviewees at one college may get that grade, you did incredible and we'd love to have you at our college, but there may only be 8 places available at that college, in which case the college would only be able to give places to the top 8 people who got that grade, you did incredible and we'd love to have you at our college. And this will happen at both of the colleges you interview at. If you get that top grade and rank highly enough at your primary college, you'll be offered a place from your primary college. However, if you don't get that grade from your primary college and don't rank highly enough in your primary college, all is not lost. Because if you rank highly enough in your second college and get that grade in your second college, then that second college will give you an offer. If you get the top grade and rank highly enough in the interviews you have with both colleges, then your primary college will take priority and will give you an offer. And this is where things get interesting now. If you get the top grades at both of your colleges, but there just weren't enough places available at those colleges, what you may be given is you may be given an open offer, which is when the tutors believe you have what it takes and they would love to have you at the college and on the course, but there just aren't enough places available. So you'll be given an open offer, which means that you are guaranteed a place at the university to study biology. However, you just won't know which college you are going to be at until results day. And what will happen on results day is some people may miss their offer, in which case you'll take up one of their places at the college they got an offer from. Or if no one misses that offer, you'll be guaranteed a place from your primary college. And this is what happened to me because I got an open offer from Pembroke, and in the end, I ended up staying at Pembroke. So yeah. My 7th piece of advice is to have pen and paper to hand, because sometimes it may be useful to jot down a few ideas to help you answer some of the questions, or it may be helpful to do some workings out in case they ask you a mathsy question. So having pen and paper to hand can be really handy for that. My 8th piece of advice is to do whatever you need to do to feel as prepared as you can be and as comfortable and at ease as is appropriate. For example, join the calls early to see if your camera and mic are working. I know some colleges offer support with this where you can join a separate Teams call beforehand to check if your technology is working, and ask any last minute questions. Other things you can do are wear clothes that are professional enough but also comfortable, and also doing the interview in a place that you feel comfortable and safe in. For example, initially I was going to go to school and do my interviews in one of those spare rooms there, but in the end I thought I would feel more comfortable and at ease doing the interview at my home in my living room, because it was a more familiar place and meant that my morning would be less hectic. I also did things like breathing exercises, affirmations, and visualizations. And I visualized two main things. Firstly, I visualized myself doing well in the interview. I visualized myself being excited and happy and enthusiastic. I visualized myself problem solving effectively and communicating effectively. And the second thing I visualized was I visualized what my dream life could look like if I did get an offer and I was successful in the end. And all of this made me feel more positive and prepared and inspired, which meant that I could show up to the interview with my best energy, and that really helped. And finally, breathe in, breathe out. You've got this, and you have everything you need within you to succeed. And I'm wishing you all the very, very best for your interview. And as always, in case no one has told you recently, in case you haven't told yourself recently, I want to tell you that I am proud of you and I believe in you and your worth and your unlimited potential and your ability to do incredible things in life. Sending you so much joy and light deep.